occasionally in our business, stretching outside of our comfort zone to do something similar is a really smart thing to do. I'm not telling you guys to do cookies. I'm not telling you to do pies. What I am saying though is real estate is a contact sport. It really is. If you are not talking to humans about houses, you are not going to sell many. As usual, I want to start with you guys. How are you planning to work over the next 6 to 8 weeks? If you have a plan at all, you might say, I'm not going to be changing much. A couple of days off here and there, but I'm going to stay steady Eddie. Anybody here planning on just kind of staying steady? I see Sheldon. I see Mark. Your hands are up.
Yep.
Unmute Sheldon. I see yours, housemongers.
Just keep going, just keep working and planting the seeds.
Okay. All right.
But
Keep
also,
working.
December, I like to go back to all the clients I had that year and make gift baskets and just kind of like pop by. Who's
Okay.
that?
Buffini?
Brian Buffini. Yeah, pop by and just say, hey, I really appreciated your business this year, and here's
Oh, that's fantastic. Are you guys that unmuted? Cesar, are you about the same? Gonna plan on staying steady, or you muted?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I do have a plan. My plan is to finish off as strong as I can so I can pick up 2025, get that first quarter in, get past this whole presidential crap that we've had in the United States. It doesn't matter which way you go.
Yeah.
See where that market's going and really take off, because it's been more quiet than I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm not planning on relaxing anytime soon, but I am going to go to Thanksgiving and Christmas and
Of course. Yeah, enjoy
whatever
it.
we're supposed to do.
My problem, so I've been in the industry 26 years, and my problem was not like, if you were to ask me the question that I just asked you guys, I would say, oh no, I'm still going to work. My problem was my phone didn't ring as much. That really was the problem. And I was really good at responding when people needed me, but most people didn't need me as much. They were putting things on the back burner for, not every year, but most years. And so I really like what Sheldon said, right? Something we do as a teamerage, we do where, like, for Thanksgiving, for example, we have all of our agents put in an order for pies, maybe 10, 20, 30 pies. And we go to the store, we buy the pies. This year, we're actually trying Wegmans, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Wegmans. The food's great, but we haven't done that before. Normally, it's more of like a pie shop. And they either have all their clients come to the office for the item, or they pick up the pies and they hand deliver them. Well, last year, one of our agents, I think she did 15 pies. She dropped off the pie, and the neighbor across the street happened to see her dropping off the pie. And she said, who is that dropping off your pie? Or that gift? And the neighbor said, oh, that's my agent that helped me buy the place. Now, the average sales price in my area is like 350, 400,000. And this is a $1.2 million neighborhood. So luxury for my area. And they said, that's amazing. We need an agent. What's her number? And she got a listing, I think 4 months ago, because of the pies last year. And so I think, the art here is how do you buy leads and keep that same spirit, right? I think one thing that some of my agents have been doing recently, they've been inviting the leads to our client events. One agent bought 10 pies and said, I've got 10 leads that aren't ready yet. Can I include them in this pie giveaway? And we were like, yeah, absolutely, do it. She's going to drop off pies to 10 leads. Guys, like, for me, being in the industry for a long time, I kind of always thought about doing stuff like that for past clients for obvious reasons, right? But with this particular agent, she said, no, they just, first of all, let me premise what I'm about to say with this. This is an agent that doesn't know how to close yet, right? So she's good at talking to people, but she's not good at like solidifying the appointments. She's working on it. But she was like, hey, this is a great opportunity. The firm is paying for half of the pies. Let me do that, right? And she did it, and it worked. And she actually got a listing appointment by giving away pies, right? Now, I'm not, please don't get off this call and just go buy pies, because I told you, that's not the point of this talk, okay? The idea here is, how can you have a business development mindset and stay focused on, being true to yourself. So if this time of the year is very important to you, I don't want you to pretend like it's not when you call the lead on the phone, right? So here's an example. You get a CMA lead, right? Hey, John, I saw you were looking for a CMA on your property. Just had a couple of questions with regards to upgrades in the condition. Have you updated the kitchen recently? Yeah, no, I'm not really interested. I'm waiting 3 years or I'm waiting 6 months. Okay, no problem. So, I've got buyers looking in the area. If the price was right, would you be open to receiving an offer? Yeah, I'm not sure. Can you call me after the holidays? Right? That's what a lot of people are going to say to you, right? It was call me after the election. You know that, right? Now it's call me after the holidays, right? That's just not a real reason. It's just like whatever they can say to get off the phone with you because they don't want to commit to anything. So when you use the scripts that you've learned that I teach and the other coaches teach, and then they bop you with the call me after the holidays, I want you always celebrate their objection. I want their no to be the best news you have heard all day. Talk about flipping their brain over. So if they say to you, this time of year is busy for me, let's just say that's their excuse. Oh my gosh, me too, Sheldon. This time of the year is crazy. I've got da 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 da. What keeps you busy during this time of year? Now I'm relating about how busy they are, right? And then if they're like, yeah, we do this, we do that, it's a big deal. We really try to focus on all these things. Or it's just a time where I like to separate from the world and be quiet. Whatever they say, oh, I love that for you. It's like you've got a lot of peace with regards to your decision. Hey, listen, I do this for my past clients, but you seem like a really straight shooter, and I really look forward to working with you. I'd love to drop off insert blank, gift basket, goodie bag, card, whatever, right? And I can include the CMA, and I won't even bug you. If you don't want to talk, it's okay, right? So if they're going to make a big deal of this time of the year, celebrate that and use it as a connection point. One of the things I teach in my book is that one of the most authentic or one of the most compelling traits of a salesperson is authenticity. If the consumer on the other end of the phone feels like they're dealing with an authentic person, they're more likely to transact with you. Now, how do you express authenticity? Well, you show your human nature. You stop being salesperson agent where you're just trying to get a closing, right? And I also want you guys to know, if you ever listen to like professional athletes, they talk about being in the zone where they stop thinking and they're more reacting. What I'm hoping you guys are getting from this weekly session with me is less about like what to say and more who to be. Because if you can just be your true self and relax, what you're going to find is you're going to have more meaningful conversations. So let me pause for a second. I normally don't talk this much right in the beginning. Does anybody guys have any questions about what I've said so far, or thoughts or reactions, anything you want to share?
Barry, I
Yeah.
do. You just reminded me of someone an agent I had some 15 years ago. This girl
Okay.
started with me. She had no idea what was going on, but she was a go-getter, and she loved to bake cookies, and it was this pie theory. And she asked me about, holidays, this and that, and I said, well, listen, try Thanksgiving and try Christmas and try New Year. She kept doing that, and then she kept going after every holiday. It's the only way she picked up business, and she was
Yeah.
completely happy. But she liked the cookies, and what she said, exactly what you're saying. She never asked for business. Sorry, my stupid dogs. She she said, I want you to just enjoy my cookies. I want you to feel as good about the way I make them. I want you to tell me how you
Right.
like it. You should follow up asking them, did you
Right.
like the cookies? And I'm, oh my God, Lisa. And this girl made a whole
Right.
business. But anyway, you just reminded me that I was like, wow.
Right. Now, I love that you brought that up, right? Because she was being true to herself. Now, for those of you on this call that are listening to Cesar and I talk about cookies and pies and whatnot, some of you might say, well, like, to be honest with you, authenticity for me is a big blanket and a fireplace and being by myself. It has nothing to do with dropping pies off and dropping cookies off. That is not who I am. Well, I hear you. Okay. I understand. And what I would like to challenge you to do is we make accommodations for the people in our life that are important to us. Right. And I'm thinking about every time you see a couple, right, at a sporting event, and you see one of the two people having no idea what the rules are, right? I remember sitting behind a couple. The woman had no idea what the rules for baseball was, and she kept asking if they scored a touchdown, right? Well, if you know anything about baseball, there's no touchdowns in baseball. That's football, American football. And I mean, but bless her, she was really trying to get into it. She was like, "Did they score a touchdown?" And he's like, "No, babe, that's a run. They scored a run." And she's like, "Okay, so what happens next?" And it was endearing because she was trying, because the man she happened to be with was important to her, right? She was out of her comfort zone in an effort to show the person she's with that she's trying to be into it, right? And I think occasionally in our business, stretching outside of our comfort zone to do something similar is a really smart thing to do, right? Because, and so I'm not telling you guys to do cookies. I'm not telling you to do pies. What I am saying, though, is real estate is a contact sport. It really is. If you are not talking to humans about houses, you are not going to sell many. And so, planning an event for me is like, I don't even like planning dinner. So planning an event for me is quite stressful. Fortunately, my business is to the point where I have people that I pay them to do those things. But if you're positioned where, to be honest with you, Barry, planning an event is not really something that I want to do. I don't like baking. What is a way that you can express your appreciation for someone wanting to enjoy the holiday? That is up to you. I mean, candidly, I think one of the things, somebody mentioned Brian Buffini on this call. One of the cool things that Brian Buffini does, he's a real estate coach. Don't go and buy it. I'm going to summarize his whole program in like 30 seconds. Stay in contact with the people that you know, write them cards, give them gifts. That's it. That's the program. I'm oversimplifying, obviously, but what I do like about his program is that he gives you ideas. But if you have Chat GPT, you could literally go in to Chat GPT and say, "I'm a real estate agent in insert city." So AI is all about the prompt. Good info in, good info out. So if I was typing the prompt for Chat GPT of trying to think about gifts to give people during the holidays, I would say something like, "I'm a real estate agent in Virginia Beach, Virginia, that receives online leads that don't know who I am. And I'm trying to think of a way to give them something of a gift that's under $20 that would show them that I care about them. Creativity is a plus, something like that, right?" And it'll probably come up with like 3 ideas for you. I'm not kidding. And you probably won't like the ideas, and the is refining the prompt. "Thank you for these ideas. Can you give me ideas that are more creative or more engaging? Or can you give me ideas that are more real estate related?" Right? And so you can do that. What I don't want you guys to do is to take the next 45 days off. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to buy into people's saying, "Call me after the holidays." They actually don't. If they say, "Call me after the holidays," the majority of them don't want to talk to you because they don't see value in the conversation. So before you get off the phone with them, when they say, "Can you call me after the holidays?" I want you to celebrate that, like I just told you, go down that whole talk track. And then what I want you to say something like, "So perfect. I'm so glad that you're doing all those things. I'll drop off that gift. I have one more question before I let you go." Such a powerful phrase. "I have one more question before I let you go." And that's where you're going to go into talking about the home condition. You're going to talk about their home value, what their expectations are, what their long-term plans are. So really, not that much changes about the conversation during this time of year. It's just you have to add a little bit of little. You have another personal one-to-one talking point that you can address in the course of the conversation. So let me pause again. Does anybody have any questions about this, what we've said so far, or any comments with regards to this? All right. So with regards to the last couple of weeks, with your lead, I'd love to hear from any of you. Have you had any conversations that are notable, good or bad? Any ones that went really bad that I can talk to you about, or ones that you felt like you used maybe one of the techniques that you've learned on some of these calls to get an appointment or to overcome an objection?
I had one. I had a call with the lead the other day. Ashley got involved, and I responded, but then Ashley, I don't know, the lady responded, and Ashley started communicating and trying to book an appointment. Anyways, the lady's like, "Oh, I'm available right now." So I gave her a call, and I was like, I'm kind of doing a live CMA here, asking her motivation questions, just telling me about her life, telling me what her pain points are. But she's like, "I have a realtor, and it's the person who sold me this place, and we've been in touch for a really long time." And so I'm like, "Oh, am I doing all this work and that, and I'm just gonna like do it for free, and she's not actually ready and not gonna sell in the next 3 months? Do I send her properties? Am I just like back up?"
Yeah. And so what'd you decide?
Treading lightly. I was there's like a rough valuation, just kind of what recently sold in her
Yeah,
building without kind of
sure.
going too overboard. But how would I, if I, once I do that, how do I roll to the next?
Yeah. So whenever someone brings up having another agent, I compliment the objection. I compliment the negative. I am so glad that you're bringing up a relationship you have with another agent. It speaks very highly of your character. Now, Mr. Smith, one of the things that I want to tell you is that this is probably, or one of the things I want to remind you of is this is probably one of the largest financial transactions of your life. And while relationship is important, you are better off by interviewing more than one agent for this job because there are differences in strategy, digital marketing, pricing strategy, local networks, things like that that are going to impact how much money you get. Now, while your relationship with another agent should always be considered, and again, I think it's amazing that you're bringing them up, I really want to encourage you to be selfish. And the way that I want you to be selfish is I want you to meet with more than one agent and allow them to apply for the job of selling your home. And then you make an educated and empowered decision based on those interviews. The absolute worst case scenario is that you meet with more than one agent and you get different ideas about selling your home that you can then bring into whoever you do hire. So literally, let's say, Mrs. Smith, if you meet with me and I give you good ideas, but you don't like me, let's say my breath smells, ha 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 ha, and you decide to go work with that other agent, you get to take my ideas and you get to use them with that other agent. Can you see how this is a win for you? So this is actually really good advice. Don't you agree, Sheldon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I tried to do in the book is to help us as agents see that it's not salesy to give good advice. Like it's not a thing to say, hey, I think there's a better strategy here than what you're doing. Right. There's other salesy that I could have used, Sheldon. I could have said, well, if, uh, if you sign with me right now, I will give you a 1% discount. Now, I'm not saying that would work. Okay. I'm not, but like, that is me creating false urgency and an effort to put pressure on someone to use me for their services. I'm not faulting an agent for doing that. That's just not who I am. That's not why I wrote the book. The reason why I wrote the book was there is a way to make a lot of money in real estate by being a fantastic human and having difficult conversations. And that's what I want you to do. When they bring up another agent, it does speak highly of their character that they're trying to stay true to that relationship. And so tell them that and then tell them they win by interviewing more than one agent. Now, the truth is, they might go with that person that they already know, or they might be so impressed by the value that you bring that they hire you. And there's a third option here that I've had happen several times in my career. I did everything that I just told you to do. They still chose the other agent. Well, this only happened once, but they chose the other agent. The house didn't sell in 30 days, and they called me and said, what do you think went wrong? I said, there's three things I think they didn't do right. I can tell them to you and you can use agent, or you can hire me and I can make this happen for you. And they fired the other agent and hired me. So, it's something that you can talk through. And you show a lot, Sheldon, in that moment where as soon as they brought up the other agent, you went inside. You're like, oh, am I wasting my time? This is reasonable, by the way. Am I wasting my time? They already have another relationship. And you focused on you. And what I just did in this conversation with you is I flipped this objection on its head. And I said, this is about her. And you can give her some really good advice that happens to mean that you have a shot at getting the business. Does it make sense? Do you feel like you can act? Yeah.
Yeah. Try.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Any about the conversation that I just went over with Sheldon from anybody, or have another situation that they want to bring up?
Barry?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had a situation this week where my brother, who works for Bloomberg, referred someone to me. And I'm like, okay, usually his referrals are a shoo-in.
Yeah.
Well, I had a great conversation with this guy. But he said to me at the end, listen, under full disclosure, I just want you to know, like, he literally was calling me because he wanted me to represent them on purchasing a property. They weren't comfortable going in by themselves. I said, well, I don't blame you. I think that's a great idea. Him and I hit it off great. His wife, however, had already spoken to somebody else, and then they wound up going with the wife's choice. I said, okay, not a problem. But in the process of that happening, I always ask myself, well, what is it? How can I help this guy? Now I know the broker where the house that they were looking at, and if they were still talking to me, that deal was already gone. I mean, she's
Yeah.
very aggressive, and anyway, I don't think they have it, but they're working with that broker. In that process of that happening, I remembered of a house that I had sold 6, 7 years ago that would fit them to a T. Now I'm in conversations with that couple. Caesar, how are you, Bubba? Yes, the property's gone up by 400,000 or 500,000. I says, you got zero capital gains, so they were completely happy about that. Now they've got a kid, so they're looking to expand. So out of a negative, I believe a positive's coming, and I also believe I'm going to get them back anyway and resell them. I think it's just listening to you. It's just if you really focus on helping that other person and not saying, "Oh my God, I just got cold water on my face and I thought this was going to be easy," and it hasn't happened yet, but it may wind up being two deals instead of one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's
That
why
was
you're
the difference.
successful, Cesar. Like what you guys just heard him say is he used this activity to become relevant and have a legitimate conversation with a past client. He might in with the buyer now because of this property. And the other thing I would say, I really try when it's a couple, I strongly emphasize getting both people on the call so that I can influence both of them. Ultimately, uh, in most relationships, there's somebody that cares a lot about stuff like that, and there's somebody that isn't. That's like, yeah, whatever. And the other person says, no, this one, right? Like, I'm not saying all relationships are that way, but a lot of them are. And I've had situations. I remember where I walked in, it was a past client. They got my whole playbook for the listing. I was like, oh, I got this. This is great. Didn't talk to the man's wife much, said hello. She was in the back with the kids. Well, apparently she was listening through a baby monitor. After I left, she looked at her husband and said, this is a great plan. I think I can do it. And so they sold it on their own via FISBO. And I left and I was like, I will never sell to one person. If there's two decision makers, I will never sell to one person ever again, because I was with the one person that I had for a variety of reasons that I really didn't think much about it. But I mean, who's going to say no to their partner that wants to give it a shot? She wanted to give it a shot. Like, how can you fault her for that, right? And they got my whole, because I was comfortable, they got everything that I was going to do, the websites I was going to use, the photo style, my photographer, the whole thing. Anyway, so good job flipping it into something else. That's an amazing story, and that's why you're successful. All right. We are a little bit over, but I feel like I talked more than I normally do. Does anybody else have any questions before I let you go? All right. Well, if you celebrate it, have a happy Thanksgiving next week. I will be on next Friday. So, have a great weekend and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.